Welcome to part 2 of Let's Play Mega Man, and sorry about part 1, but now we have time to talk about the real purpose of the structure of this game. For every Robot Master you defeat, you get to use their weapon, and for every weapon there's another Robot Master that is weak to it. For example, last time we defeated Gutsman, and he dies quicker to the Hyper Bomb, which is the weapon we got from defeating Bombman, than to any other weapon. So you always have to fight one Robot Master without the weakness. There's always gonna be that first Robot Master that you're gonna have to defeat with your little dinky shitty ass pea shooter. But from there on out, if you want to, you can just go in order of weakness. You can use the weapon on the next Robot Master that's weak to it, get that weapon and fight the Robot Master that's weak to that weapon, and get that weapon and fight the Robot Master that's weak to that weapon until you make a full circle. Which is the easiest way of playing the game and what most people will do on their first time playing it. But what I really think made this series so popular is its replay value. You can do something different every single time. You can try to go after a different Robot Master as your first, or you can try to beat multiple bosses without their weaknesses, and from there on you can go in all kinds of different orders. The two keywords here are variety and freedom, and especially that freedom part is something that I think the Mega Man X series hasn't been able to do as well. Where you can only do something in this stage after you've already beaten another stage, and that in turn kind of detracts from the variety and the replay value. And before you make an angry comment, I still really enjoy the Mega Man X series for its own things, but I felt like making a comparison to stretch that is the appeal of the classic Mega Man series. Now, a bit of a personal rule of mine to make things a bit more interesting for myself is that not my first time playing the game, but in later playthroughs I have to be able to beat at least half the Robot Masters without their weakness. Just as a little extra thing to make myself try harder. So in this game there are 6 Robot Masters, meaning I have to beat 3 Robot Masters without their weakness. However, in this game those 3 are Bombman, Gutsman and Cutman, which we're going after right now. But as you may saw, I did use the weakness on Gutsman, and I am also gonna use the weakness on Cutman. So let's just say I may or may not get another chance to fight them again without their weakness. Now let's talk about the weapons themselves, because I just showed off the Super Arm, which is the weapon we got from defeating Gutsman, and last time we saw the Hyper Bomb, which is the weapon we got from defeating Bombman. Luckily an enemy just dropped a weapon refill, because all these special weapons use ammo. That was a big one. There are big ones and smaller ones, the bigger ones obviously giving you more ammo than the smaller ones, and the same goes for the health pickups. The bigger ones give you more health than the smaller ones. But right now we have the two most useless weapons. Let's start with Hyper Bomb and see how useless that is. We throw it and then we wait for about 6 or 7 years. You know what, let's count. 1, 2, 3, that took almost 4 seconds. Which is like an eternity in video game time. And this is the Super Arm. You pick up a rock and throw it. It can hit a lot of enemies, but well, let's start off by why the Hyper Bomb is useless. We already saw that it takes a really long time for it to detonate, and most enemies move around, so you can't really hit anything with it. But you're also defenseless while using it, because 1, you can't switch weapons while it's still active, and 2, you can only throw 1 at a time. So you throw 1, you avoid all kinds of other shit while you're waiting for it to explode, and then it misses, and then you're just angry with a lot less health. I think the weapon was probably used for defeating enemies that are sort of underneath you, because Mega Man can tilt his arm downwards for some reason. But the game never really throws you in a situation where you need to use the Hyper Bomb for that. Actually, in Mega Man Powered Up, which is the remake of this game, the Hyper Bomb is actually a lot more useful, because 1, it's faster, 2, you have different ways of throwing it, and 3, it actually explodes upon hitting an enemy, so it's kind of useful there. Now let's talk about the Super Arm, because the Super Arm is sort of useful, but oh, it's the big jumping enemy. No. I'm about to get hit by it, by the way, but just look at the health bar when I get hit by it. Damn! Okay, not enough time left, so quick summary of the Super Arm. The Super Arm is kind of useful because you can pick up rocks and throw it at enemies, and it breaks off into pieces, which has a really wide range of hitting other enemies. So it's really useful when there are throwable blocks around, just that there are never throwable blocks around, so you can't use it whenever you want. And speaking of the Super Arm, we are about to fight Cutman, which is his weakness and which I'll be using, even though I said I won't, but I'll explain that later. Cutman is the other easiest Robot Master to go after first, just because even if you don't have his weakness, the pea shooter does a lot of damage to him, and he's pretty easy to avoid, and his weapon doesn't do very much to you either. And the Super Arm kills him in about 2 hits, and luckily enough there are exactly 2 rocks here, so make sure you hit him with both of them. If you miss one, you can only take out half his health, and if you miss both, well, you're gonna have to use the pea shooter, which is still easy enough unless you are at low health like I am. The only thing I have to wonder is, why did Gutsman have 2 of those rocks as well? I mean, he's not weak to it, and even if he was, you can't defeat him with it, because if you're fighting Gutsman, you don't have Gutsman's weapon. Oh well, we get kind of a useful power now, and we get clear points for clearing the stage. Though it doesn't really matter, I still don't really care about the points, and it's... Oh god, now we're going after Elec Man, which is my least favorite stage in the game. We're now done with the easy half of the Robot Masters, folks. Now we're getting to the hard ones, and we're starting with Elec Man, and I don't like going through Elec Man's level. I'll explain why in just a second, but first let's show off the Rolling Cutter, which is the weapon we got from defeating Cutman. It's well, it's kind of useful, but only because of its arc. You can use it to kill enemies that are slightly above you, because Mega Man can tilt his arm upward for some reason. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. It's useful for killing enemies that aren't directly in front of you, or you don't want to get in front of. But horizontally it doesn't travel very far. Now let's talk about why I do not like Elec Man's level. It's a vertical climb. Meaning you're gonna have to rely on all these ladders, and these ladders don't really allow much movement in terms of avoiding enemies or moving in general. So you can't really avoid attacks very easily, and that's important because when you do get hit by an attack, it knocks you off of the ladder, so you're falling all the way down. And that sucks, because you have to start climbing all over again, and then if you get hit again, you can do it again and again and again and again and again. So that's one reason to not like Elec Man's level, and now we're getting to the second reason to not like Elec Man's level. These are the phasing blocks, blocks that move in and out of existence, and you need to use them as platforms to progress. The thing is that you need to get their timing down almost perfectly, and that you need to know when and where they're about to appear and disappear before they do so, and getting their pattern down is not always very easy. It was kind of easy in this one, but the next stage, the next stage. They're really not too bad in this level, but it's a vertical climb, so if you miss one, you're gonna have to do a lot over again, not just at the phasing blocks. But my advice is to not rush when you get to the phasing blocks, just wait and look and stare and learn the pattern of the blocks. Be the blocks, become the blocks, until you get the rhythm and know where exactly to move. But we'll be seeing them again, and again, and again, and again. Then we get to Mega Man 2, and we get to see them again and again, and then Mega Man 3, and we get to see them, and we get to see them Mega Man 4, Mega Man 5, and Mega Man every Mega Man ever. Well, at least the classic series. Now we're about to get to another minor reason to maybe hate Elec Man's level the first time playing the game, and that is... make sure you beat Gutsman before coming here, otherwise you're gonna have to go here again. See that blue item there? You need it to beat the game. It is required to pick that up if you want to beat the game. However, you won't know that you needed to beat the game until way later into the game. And another thing, in order to get that item, you need Gutsman's weapon. The only weapon you can use to get to it is Elec Man's weapon, which still means you're gonna have to do the stage again, because this is Elec Man Stage. But now that we do have it, we get the magnet beam added to our weapons, and it's not really a weapon, seeing how you can't really use it to hurt enemies. What it can be used for, I'll be showing off in the next part, but trust me, it's very handy. And a little fun fact, this song sounds like 10 million other songs in the world. The only example the Mega Man knowledge base is giving me is Faithfully by Journey, but what I hear from the internet, it sounds like 10 other different songs, and I can't name them from the top of my head. I just got hit and fell down, and I don't like that. But speaking of music, the Mega Man series is heavily influenced by music, since Mega Man's Japanese name is Rockman, and his sister, which I'll get into later because I still haven't explained the story yet, but I haven't had time for that yet. His sister's name is Roll, and rock and roll, Rockman, rock, roll, rock and roll, you get it. Next to from Rockman to Mega Man, another name change in the game was Dr. Wright, which is Mega Man's inventor. In the American versions he's called Dr. Light. That one's not a musical reference, but as the series progresses, more characters will be introduced who will have musical name references. There's another big jumping enemy right in front of the boss door, and speaking of the boss, we're about to fight Elec Man, and I don't like fighting Elec Man because much like the big jumping enemy, he kills you in 3 hits. Luckily we can use his weakness, the rolling cutter, which kills him in 3 hits, so it kind of evens out when you're using his weakness. And I have fought Elec Man without his weakness, and that took me a lot of tries and it wasn't fun, and I'll maybe show it off in an extra video, but But for what it's worth, I can advise you, if you're trying to beat him without his weakness, you can take dodging damage from him and it will do a lot less damage from his Elec beam. And you get invincibility frames after getting hit, so you can kind of use that if you're skilled enough. I haven't ever done that myself. Well, not intentionally, but I used the rolling cutter, so we were able to beat him very quick. And if you're not using the rolling cutter, you're gonna have to shoot him like 28 times or something. It takes long, it's not fun, I don't like it. And I did it, I recorded it. I'll show you in some extra video where I'll fight Elec Man without his weakness, and see you next part!